Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode at Stream Islam. Alhamdulillah, we blessed to be in the month of Ramadan, and right now I'm in a holy city of Al Madinah Al Munawwara, and with us, inshallah, we're gonna have John Fontaine, who has his own program as well with Stream Islam. He's gonna be joining me in a moment, inshallah. So, meanwhile, I would like to discuss an important topic on utilizing social media to counteract mass propaganda and educate people about Islam, especially as a strategy to provide an accurate information and dispel misconceptions. In this day and age, we've seen the great oppression happening in Gaza, and we're not seeing in the media um, counting you know, an accurate display of the reality on the ground and the mass oppression happening. And we see many non-Muslims who end up uh, believing in this narrative that Israel is genuinely tackling Hamas and not necessarily, causing oppression in the land and corruption. So, um, from an Islamic perspective, I would say we live in a day and age where we live in a day and age of mass information, and we have an important tool that we can make use of it, which is social media. And from the things that one could do is, for example, create an engaging content where one would develop an informative and 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 educational content that highlights different aspects of Islam, such as its principles, teachings, history, and contribution towards society. This way, we have tried this before. For example, during the World Cup in Qatar, we have other examples in Masjid Al Fatah in Bahrain, where they do Islamic awareness through mosque tours. The impact this method has when it comes to inform people and educate them about the Islam is extremely effective. And from the things that we can then tackle is to address misconceptions head on. For example, we identify common misconceptions about Islam perpetuated by the mainstream media and address them directly in our content. We see many brothers doing it already, especially brothers who give Dawah in London and Speakers Corner, others as well, such as brothers in the States as well, not only in the UK, but even though the UK are the leading Muslims making use of social media in order to tackle these misconceptions about Muslims and Islam. It's just as an example. And another one is to provide a clearer explanation backed with credentials and credible sources to tackle these myths and stereotypes. So it's important to try to create a second, I wouldn't call it opinion, but create a diversity in terms of narratives. So we showcase diverse, one second, let me see if this, John is joining us now. So we try to showcase a diverse um, range of 1 minute. She's with us, yes. Um, I get back to you in a minute about this one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. How you doing?
Alhamdulillah. I'm glad to have you joining us today. You got your own show, mashallah. How are
I
you
see you
doing?
got a new president.
Say again?
I see you have a new president.
No,
You're
no, I
Senegali,
don't
aren't you?
believe.
Come on, bro. You're Senegali at heart. Senegal has a
There's
new
a
president today.
delay. There is a delay on my internet connection and John's as well. So let me, Bismillah. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam. What's going on, bro? Are we live?
Subhanallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Can you hear me? Oh,
I can
I
hear
don't
you.
hear
Yeah.
you, but basically my laptop went down. But yeah, I got my phone. I'm using my phone. But yes, so welcome, John.
How's
Basically,
it
I'm
going, bro?
talking about utilizing social media to counteract the mass propaganda and educate people about Islam, and giving a second, an alternative for mass. 1 second, let me just connect on my laptop. So to create an alternative voice that showcase the reality of Islam and defend Islamic principles. Are you with? Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what's going on. On my laptop, it is disconnecting. So, so basically, is to utilize social media to counter uh, rat the mass propaganda and to educate people about Islam is an effective strategy, and we can provide an accurate information and dispel misconceptions. You've been making use of social media for a while, and back in the days, maybe 11, 12 years ago, it wasn't something that like students of knowledge would appreciate, was something looked down upon. So, what was your inspiration at the time to make use of social media in order to advocate Islam and clear misconceptions and give da'wah when it wasn't a popular tool?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, subhanAllah. When I first came to Islam, there was very little online. I think YouTube, the only Islamic channel that I can think of was the Dean Show. And in fact, the Dean Show used to be a website. He had many videos which were uploaded onto a website. And I think I came to Islam just as YouTube was taking off. And Facebook had been around for a while, but YouTube was kind of becoming more popular. And I think that's when Eddie from the Dean Show started to upload his videos onto YouTube. Because I remember I would watch some of the videos on YouTube, but the older videos, I'd have to go onto his website to see them. So people like Eddie and other brothers, they've been very active using the internet as a tool There's been some brothers who used to write articles, like Bassem Zawadi and Gabriel Romani. He has a website called Let the Tables Be Turned or something. And what's it called? Bassem Zawadi had answeringchristianity.com. So they was like more using written articles to answer a lot of the doubts of the Christians who used to also write articles. And then as YouTube formed, everyone took it to YouTube. But in the initial stages of YouTube, it was very difficult because most people didn't know how to film and edit. You know, filming and editing cost a lot of money back then. I remember I started filming when I was about 18 years old, nearly 20 years ago. And just the editing software cost around £2,500. You know, Final Cut. Now that same software today is about £300, and it's much better. And the average camera would be like £10,000, you know, for a decent HD quality camera. Where today everyone's got a 4K camera in the pocket, subhanAllah. So things have changed drastically over the past 20 years. You know, people have come into the field. People have now started to try to get their own voice, coming onto YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and we can't even keep up with the next, you know, best app. You know, we've got what's the other one? There's many of them, you know. So things have changed, and when I came to Islam, of course, I'm not a sheikh, I'm not a student of knowledge, but I had a YouTube channel already. I was a jazz singer. I had a Facebook channel. So I thought, let me turn these pages into Islamic pages where I can try to reach out to the non-Muslim audience that I had. You know, I had many non-Muslims following me. So I thought, let me try and use this as an opportunity to show them what I've found about Islam. But subhanAllah, these days, you know, somebody can come on to a social network platform and within one day they can be very famous. Or you can come onto social media and you'll never even get 100 views. You know, it's weird because the algorithm, it really is dictated by the app or the website themselves. And so it really depends. If you're doing generally good Islamic content, a lot of the time, unless you're compromising some way, like putting adverts on your channel, you know, which I don't agree with, because you're allowing them to make money and you're making money from, you know, things that are haram, basically, you know, because every advert has women and music usually. So unless you're compromising in some way, or unless you're being controversial, or you know, you
Akhi, I'm not sure why, but I can't hear you. Can you verify your microphone? Oh, it's mute. Have a look. Your mic. Yes,
can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. MashaAllah, high quality microphone.
I can't hear you. Was I muted?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? I can hear myself. Oh, I'm stuck. Please try to log in again. One moment. So, alhamdulillah, we had some technical difficulties. So, let me start again. Basically, how can we in this day and age use social media to educate people about Islam and counteract mass propaganda spread by mass media, mainstream media? Um, um, what can we do? And basically, social media is a powerful and effective tool that we can utilize as a strategy in order to counter these mainstream. Uh, 1 second. Okay, I was just replying to John. So now, so social media is a very effective strategy that we can utilize as a tool in order to counter this mass propaganda against the Islamic faith. So I would discuss. I wanted first to um, ask John, who is a veteran in social media, mashallah, who's been using it for over 10 years. And back in the days, the usage of social media wasn't something popular among students of knowledge, and even video recording of classical lessons and of books and durus in general, it wasn't something everyone used to feel comfortable doing. Was mainly audio, and is understandable because there used to be some fatwa of the ulama in terms of the use of video and the permissibility of it. But as time went, um, it it turned that now is one of the most important uh, methods to make our voice heard. So I'm going to just touch on a few points that we can uh, use as a community in order to counter the mainstream media channels. So first thing we can do as an individual is establish authenticity. So we create authentic and informative social media profiles or pages dedicated to educating about Islam. So we should utilize reputable sources um, such as scholars and utilize even quotes of the books of known books and so on, and share this accurate information. Subhanallah, having technical issues, but I will just carry on and share this accurate information. And it's important to have transparency and credibility is key, us as Muslims, because a lot of times we see Muslims utilizing common sense as and philosophies or on all Western philosophies in order to explain Islam, and this is something that is I would say is negative. We should rather utilize Islam and its source as the first source of uh, educating people about our faith. Because a good example is a few days ago, I was in Masjid al-Fatih in Bahrain, and there was a German couple who came to visit the mosque because in Bahrain they have visit is Islamic awareness through mosque tours. And they were actually pioneers in many of its great techniques, and they innovated in many aspects in terms of originality and creativity to educate non-Muslims about Islam, which is one of the most powerful uh, tools I've seen in these modern days. I would say, but what I mean by modern day is 2020 up to now is the most efficient method that I've seen or came across to educate non-Muslims about the Islamic faith. So they had a couple of books, and one of the books which is problematic is the topic of uh, the scientific miracles of the Quran. This is very problematic for me as a Muslim to make science and evidence to bring the credibility of Quran. Actually, as a Muslim, the Quran on its own is the most efficient way to show the truth of Islam. Science is not a tool that the Quran is in need of to show its truth. And a lot of the arguments used um, in this book or these arguments that are quite popular, the scientific miracles of the Quran, are not necessarily accurate. You know, these are how can I say? No, I wouldn't call it theories, but um, interpretations of science as well as the Quranic verses, which are not necessarily accurate. And this is from a viewpoint of transparency and credibility. This is not a good method to try to educate people about Islam. So one has to pay attention to establishing authenticity when it comes to trying to give da'wah or educate people about Islam. So be mindful as an individual if you want to utilize social media to educate people about Islam and to counter the mass propaganda spread by the mainstream media. Be aware with your sources. So, and the second point I would say is educational content. So, we should develop a content strategy focused on providing accurate and comprehensive information about Islam. This can include posts, videos, infographics, and articles covering various aspects such as the fundamentals of the religion, its history, cultural contribution, and misconceptions. It's quite interesting to mention this because me myself, when it comes to Center of Culture and Civilization, Center CCC, Center CC, is a channel on or a page in Instagram that I are part of or organization. One of the strategies we use is to educate the non-Muslims about the Islamic contribution in terms of science and it's purely history. Unlike trying to utilize the theory of the scientific miracles of Quran, which is not necessarily 100% accurate. We rather utilize historical events and individuals, such as one of many scholars in Islam who contributed towards medicine and many other physics, chemistry, and other sciences, mechanics, and so on. We can utilize this as a means of educating. This is one of our strategies with Center of Coaching Civilization, which is I've seen very efficient, especially with Islamic uh, exhibitions. And non-Muslims often find it really interesting because it's educational, historical, factual, and is the kind of information they don't have access to now. So another aspect I would say to address misconceptions. So actively, actively address common misconceptions and stereotypes about Islam. So we can create content, especially refuting these myths and providing factual information. And as we see in these critical times where Muslims are being oppressed in Palestine, Gaza at the moment, a lot of the public opinion, hold by the West is purely based upon the mass propaganda that is spread through the mainstream media. Okay, which which makes us Muslims less of humans, and then um, Israel can justify their uh, methods on trying to fight or eradicate Hamas. Um, uh, my network is really bad, subhanAllah. I had internet on my phone, but for some reason there is a problem with Zain here in Al Medina, where no one, literally no one has internet. Even to make calls, there is some technical problems happening. So I'm really sorry with um, you know, these uh, technical issues that are affecting the the stream. And I'm at the hotel in the restaurant trying to utilize the hotel's internet, but it's constantly um, breaking. Subhanallah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, inshallah, I hope that you guys. By the way, could you please write on the comments if it's clear, because the impression I get by speaking is that, Ya Allah, the impression that I'm getting is that there is a delay on my speech, and which is affecting the quality of the stream, but which is disturbing me and confusing me uh, without really knowing if you guys are hearing or not. So, how is the quality of the stream? Could you please write in the comments? The volume is quite low. Okay, Bismillah. We'll try to speak up. So, Bismillah, ala barakatillah. Al-Muhim. So, so the first point I made is to establish authenticity. The second is to create educational content which will tackle, oh, thank you, which would tackle these not misconceptions, but the fundamental principles of the religion of Islam's history and cultural contribution and misconceptions. The third point, which I stopped, is to address misconceptions. Actively to address common misconceptions and stereotypes about Islam. So we could create contents especially to refute myths and provide factual information. And the fourth point I would like to present is to highlight diversity, showcase the diversity between the Muslim communities through stories. One of the main stories I love to mention, especially for someone like myself coming from a black background, is Malcolm X. Malcolm X is a famous activist who showcased Islam as a solution for the racial problems that were happening in America during the civil rights movement and in the 60s. So Malcolm X is an individual I love to use as an example, especially for people who have a similar background as myself, who were Christians in the West, who witnessed racism, discrimination, and inequality, racial inequalities in the church itself. So I love to mention Malcolm X as a story, so on and so forth. For example, his letter he wrote in his pilgrimage. As well, one another thing I like to do is interviews. We invite special guests who might have a beautiful story or expertise or knowledge, and we try to interview them and to benefit people through these interviews. Like, for example, renowned reverts who come from a scientific background, or individuals who were influencers who then embraced the Islamic faith, such as Brother Amir Muhaddith Lun, known as Lun for his artist name back in the days before he embraced Islamic faith, or even Brother Muta, which is his stage name was Napoleon. So, and profiles like former politicians who were actively engaged in misinforming people about the Islamic faith and fighting Islam, literally writing books about Islam. And then when they eventually started to study Islam for what it really is, they realized its beauty, and many, Allah opened their hearts and they ended embracing this beautiful faith. Faith. So this is another aspect where we highlight the different cultural practices, traditions, and perspectives to demonstrate the richness and the complexity of Islam beyond the common stereotypes which the media tries often to uh, propagate. Media and as well Islamophobes such as Bob the Builder from Speaker's Corner and Tommy Robinson and many others, depending on your country, especially with the rise of the far right in Europe specifically, and to a certain extent in America, but specifically in Europe, Germany, Holland, France, Portugal. We have, whoever pays attention to the, the politics happening in Europe, you will notice the rise of the far right in terms of mainstream ideology in our countries, you know. So another aspect, which I would maybe number it as the fifth, is to engage in dialogue. So I through Miss Education Forum, the purpose of Miss Education Forum is to go to universities around Europe where we invite renowned guests, people who are professors or journalists or former politicians, to give lectures and educate people about Islam from a factual perspective. SubhanAllah. Bismillah. Is it better? Sorry. I place the microphone closer to me. So, Bismillah, I assume so. So, um, so we engage in forums where we have professors as well to discuss about ideologies, propaganda, and so on, to educate people the impact this propaganda has on the public opinion, which gonna have an impact in the impression people have about the Islamic faith and Muslims, and how this impact as well the rise of far right in the West. So the sixth point I would say is to collaborate and to partner. What do I mean by this? Collaborate with other organizations, influencers, and activists who share a similar goal of promoting understanding and tolerance. Um, Bearing in mind the context of this is how we can tackle the mass propaganda by mainstream media, because they have the one of the most powerful tools, which basically um, gives the public opinion whatever they see on Islam and about Muslims, which has impact in the way our governments can bring policies or even their stance when it comes to the foreign policies, where the population, if they are aware of the oppression happening on the ground, they can have an input or even bring our leaders into account. Of course, I'm speaking from a Western context to a certain extent, but if the community and the society is pressuring our local authorities, and then our local authorities bring it to the attention of the government, and this can have a positive impact in our society. We've seen this with the apartheid in South Africa about 30 to 40 years ago, and we've seen that eventually apartheid system was abolished, even though the people in the ruling position didn't really change much. But there was a change which had an impact on the lives of black community in South Africa, which is today visible on actively contributing towards the awareness they the case that they took against Israel of how you call it again? Bismillah. Um, 1 second. Which the genocide case against Israel. So we've seen how that can have an impact, which the local authority then will stand in favor of the oppressed people, which are the Palestinians. So another aspect we can, I would number it as the seventh, is to use hashtags and trends. Okay, so we utilize relevant hashtags and trend topics to increase the visibility of our content, and so to monitor current events and discussions related to Islam, and participate in timely conversations and share valuable insights. This is a very important aspect on how we can counter the mainstream media. Bismillah. So the eighth point I would bring to this viewers' attention is to utilize visual storytelling. This is a very effective technique, such as videos, images, and animations to make an complex content more accessible and engaging. We have few where we worked on the Islamic architecture in Portugal, the revolt of the slaves of Brazil called the Malay Revolt, and few other animated videos which have visual storytelling. Um, we implemented the technique basically, which is quite effective, and they commonly become viral. So the ninth, I would say to create build a community. So that means we foster a sense of community amongst the fellow followers to by engaging in interactive and participation. You know, through creating polls, quiz, and challenges related to Islam to promote engagement and to build supportive online community. Like a group of brothers, for example, everyone's gonna, for example, if there is a discussion, people are commenting, then a group of Muslims would counter that negative criticism to bring to the audience an alternative thought or idea that challenges these narratives, just as an example. And the last, I would say, to monitor and respond. So, what do I mean by this? To monitor social media conversation and trends related to Islam, to stay informed about emerging narratives and challenges. And of course, our role in this case would be to respond to this misinformation or negative portrayals by providing accurate information and, inshallah, knowledge based content. So, if anyone has any question or would like to contribute in any form or shape, feel free. Uh, Otherwise, inshallah, I would end the stream here, inshallah, because the internet connection is very bad today for some reason. Please, brothers and sisters, comment. Feel free to comment or ask questions. Or if I've said anything that is not clear or even a mistake, feel free to contribute. And please, brothers and sisters, don't forget to donate to IDC. Uh, no, oh, you're welcome, Sister Mary. So, in this case, I will then end, and I would like to remind my brothers and sisters to make the most of the month of Ramadan and make loads of du'as and inshallah, we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make easy for our brothers and sisters who have less means and who are going through the hardship and difficulties of war in Gaza, Palestine. Remember them in your du'as, our families, especially our non-Muslim family and loved ones who are not Muslims. We should make the most of Ramadan to ask Allah Azza wa Jal to guide them. And I believe this is how you call it, a forgotten sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who would make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal, even a Quranic method or methodology of making dua to our qawm, to our people. We don't often ask Allah Azza wa Jal to guide our people. Um, so, without further ado, if anyone would like to continue my content, please check on Miss Education Forum, which is written on the screen, and or by Abu Ibrahim Silva. You will come across my social media. So, without further ado, I would like to thank you all to watching, and I'm very sorry for the technical issues I'm having with the internet. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.